In this lesson, we're going to show you how to back up and then restore an SQL Server database. Right now, I have open a program called SQL Server Management Studio. This is not SQL Server itself. This is an application that we use to access the SQL Server database. SQL Server itself is an instance installed, in this case, locally on this computer, but it's really a set of Windows services with not much of a user interface. This is the main user interface we use to get into the database. That's what I'm going to do now. This is a very simple setup that we have here. I'm putting in the server name. This basically refers to my own computer. This is a local copy. I'm not accessing this database over the cloud as often you would. But anyway, let's go ahead and connect. So I'm going to connect to the database. Sorry, I'm going to connect in the server. And I have my list of databases here, and we're going to back up this NHL database. Why not? We're going to back this up, and then we're going to restore it back to the same computer. So backing up is very simple. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to go down to Tasks, Backed Up. And I'm going to get a backup window here. It's not really that complex. It looks like there's a lot of options here, but we're going to keep just the basic options. Okay, so here we have the backed up page. We're backing up. This is the database we're backing up. We're doing a full backup. Generally, we're not going to change these options. So we're just going to keep all the basic settings. And down here, this is where we're going to back up to. I'm actually going to remove this and do it over so you can see how this works. When I add, so I'm adding the location. I can back the database up to multiple locations. I can make multiple backup copies. But you see here, we already have our designated backup folder. So that's a folder on the D drive called backup. And so what I'm going to do now is I have to type in NHL, and I have to type in the doc BAK. BAK is the traditional extension that when we go to restore the database, the restore function is going to look for a BAK file. And the BAK is not added automatically. If you think about a Microsoft Word document, when you save the document, you type in the name and the DOC or DOCX is put in automatically. That doesn't happen here. So I'm going to click OK, and then I'm going to click OK again. And that's really all there is to it. I can go, okay, there we go, successfully. I can go to the Windows Explorer, and I can see that it added the NHL.back, and you see it's today's date, that this is 1 minute ago, 3/19/25, and so we're done. And that is the process of backing up an SQL Server database. Next, we'll show you how to do the restore. Now, we're going to pretend that the database we just backed up has been restored to another computer and has been updated, and now we need to restore that database back into this computer. It's a new version. So what we're going to do in this case, now we have to be a little bit careful. I can go into databases and check restore database, and I can go into device. You always have to use device. It's a file name, it has to be a device, right? So I'm going to click the three dots by device, and I'm going to have to find the backup. Now you see, it's going to give me a dialog box and look for the .back files. Right, and so this is where we have, now we don't have a problem with this. I want to try to restore this first so you can see what that issue is. So I'm going to press OK. So here it is. I'm going to click OK. And it failed. Okay, so as I said, this is going to grab, but look, let's take a look at the reason why. If we go to our SQL folder, now, see, this is where databases are physically here. This MDF is the database itself, and the LDF is a log file. There is still an NHL database. Yeah, there it is. So the database is still there. And we're trying to restore a database that has the same name, that has the same file name. And that's what's causing this conflict. So what we have to do first, let's cancel out of this. We're going to go back, and I'm going to take this version. And before we do this, I'm going to show you the properties. And you can see, let's look at files. It's got these files that in there. It's a cat's these files, and the backdot also references those files. So that's a problem. So, I mean, one way I could do this is I could change the file name. I can make it NHL1.mdf, for example, but I'd have to do that in restore, of course, not here. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to take this database, this is the old version. I'm going to do a couple things. I can rename this as NHL old, but that's not going to fix the problem, because if I went into the file properties, it's still going to show NHL.nvf. So what I have to do also, that I'm going to right click here, and I'm going to go to tasks. I'm going to say detach. What this is going to do, it's going to remove the database from this library. The MDF and LDF are still there, but they're not attached to any. You see, the database is now out of our. So now let's try this again. Let's go to restore. So we're going to go back to device. We're going to add NHL.back. Wait for the information to come up, then click OK again. Okay, so it's saying cannot be restored over the existing NHL.mbf. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete these are detached. So I'll mean these as old. We probably don't need to keep the logs, but I'll keep it anyway. Oops. NHL long. The error message we're getting is that we can't overwrite these. Now, I couldn't tell if that you could overwrite, and that's another way to do it. I could go down to options. I could say overwrite the existing database with replace. That's the other option. But I wanted to show you where the MDF and LDF files are. So that was another option we could have done. Files. Okay, those are the two files we're going to. So we're basically going to create these files. This was the original file name, and this is what we're going to restore it as. Another option is I could have renamed the file, but if you do this each time, you'll end up with lots of old copies. NHL1, NHL2, NHL33, and so on can clutter your folder. So now we click OK. And now we see we had a successful restore. So we had two errors. I wanted you to see those errors. But basically both errors were saying, well, you're asking me to restore these files, but they already exist. So I had two options. I could detach and remove them. Well, I had to detach it. But the files were still there. I could have told SQL Server to back it up, to restore it to a different name. Or I could have forced an overwrite of these files, forced it to overwrite or delete these files and then replace them. But I wanted to show you the process. You may encounter these errors, so I wanted you to be aware of these things because they can commonly happen during a restore. So that is the process of restoring a SQL Server database. Thank you for watching.